Hate is a business where you put in the capital and someone else takes the profits. You see, I learned this the hard way with one of my most beautiful projects. I started from scratch with the project of launching and creating Pocoyo. I put my money, my time, and my soul into something that everyone said was impossible. And yet, when we finally became number one in the world, when we were standing at the very peak of our success, the forces of envy and greed suddenly came after me to tear me down. A group of people lied, slandered, and destroyed my company because they wanted to steal my fictional child from me. But they weren't satisfied with just that. They also destroyed my family, my reputation, and they took all my assets. Just imagine the pressure. Sleepless nights, a tension so thick you could cut it with a knife, and a stress that literally split my body in two. And I ended up on a hospital stretcher with multiple organ failure. I will never forget the look on the medical director's face when he approached me. And he said to me, "I have the legal obligation to ask you what your last wishes are, because in your condition, it's unlikely you'll make it to tomorrow." At that moment, with evil breathing down my neck, the truth is, it was clear to me. I replied, "Look, my last wish is for you to cure me. Will you be able to do it?" It took me 3 months to get out of the hospital. I came out alive, but I came out surrounded by ruins. And in the silence of those ruins, I understood the bitterest and most necessary truth of all. If I wanted to keep living, if I wanted to start over, I had to forgive. But it turns out that forgiving is not easy at all. In fact, it's very difficult. And this is something I can tell you. Me, who has felt evil up close, trying to drag me into the abyss. You see, I am a man who has faith and a Christian upbringing, yes, but when they've stolen even your name, pretty words aren't enough. Many times, personal faith doesn't have the strength it should, and that's surely due to a lack of prayer and trust in God. But the darkness surrounds you everywhere. But I was clear that I wanted to get out of that situation. And I told the chief doctor at the hospital, "Cure me." And I asked God, in whom I deeply believe every day. So I began to study my body like an engineer studies a machine that's about to break down. And that's when the light turned on. Among other things, I researched the teachings of Nikola Tesla. He truly changed the paradigm of how to understand the human body. And he taught us that if you want to understand the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And by studying him, I came to the conclusion that we are indeed electricity, that every cell in our body has a voltage, and that resentment, if you allow it to dwell within you, turns into a short circuit that burns your internal wires day by day. Forgiving is not an act of holiness. In reality, it is an act of technical sovereignty. That is to say, you decide that you are not going to let the noise and frequency of others' hatred continue to affect you. Let them keep burning out your own circuits. When you understand the value of forgiveness from a biophysical point of view, it stops being a miracle. And it stops being something difficult to achieve because it becomes pure common sense. With a single objective, to protect your vital voltage. But you see, I also have to confess that on this path, we can't always walk alone. Sometimes we need someone to be our strength, to serve as that safe place for us. A place to weather the stormy nights while they pass, someone who listens to you. Someone who can advise you from a place of peace that you don't yet have. And I was incredibly fortunate to find someone like that. And you see, the most curious thing is that I didn't even look for it. He came looking for me. It is truly said that angels exist in this world too, and sometimes they walk right here beside us and appear just when the entire system feels as though it is just about to collapse, and they do it to remind us that the light is still on. I will simply never have enough time in this life to thank him for all of his incredible help and support. And he did it for me in an incredibly masterful, generous, and selfless manner. And I truly hope that I can serve each and every one of you here today, even if it is just by contributing a tiny, humble grain of sand to the foundation to help you. But now, I'm going to share something entirely different with you today, and I sincerely implore you to listen to me very closely. You see, if you make the conscious choice to refuse to forgive, you're not just simply clinging to a painful and negative memory from your past. What you're actually doing without realizing it is pressing the button for your own cellular death, because your body is a network of signals. And what are hatred or resentment to your body? Well, you see, they are an alarm signal that never turns off. If you live with resentment and without forgiving, you keep your amygdala in a state of constant electrical fire. And the amygdala is that little radar that manages fear deep within your brain. If you don't cut it off for the amygdala, the enemy is still in the room. If I hadn't forgiven the theft of my assets or the slander against me and my family, all of that, it would still be happening in my life right now. And what I'm telling you, don't take it as a poetic metaphor. No. An inflamed amygdala forces your body to produce C-reactive protein. And look, don't worry about the name, just focus on what that protein does. That protein is the messenger of war. In your body, it's the chemical signal that tells all your organs they're under attack. It's like the smoke that reveals there's a fire of inflammation destroying you from the inside. And do you know what's the most serious part? That fire even reaches your telomeres. I don't know if you remember those little caps. Those little caps, that I mentioned in my video about how our mind is an anti-aging mind. Well, telomeres are those protectors of your DNA that basically determine how long you're going to live. And it turns out that chronic hatred or holding on to resentment are acids, corrosives that melt your telomeres. Literally, when you hate, you're doing yourself. You're aging at a terrifying speed. You're killing yourself much faster than any external enemy could ever kill you. And think about it carefully, because I'm talking to you about an acid that corrodes the container that holds it. And now you might be wondering, and what is that container? That container is you. You're destroying yourself by not knowing how or not wanting to cut off the current. So I invite you to look at this situation from another perspective. The Joule's law. I've talked to you about it recently in another one of my videos, but in case you don't remember or haven't been able to watch the video, I'll summarize it for you. This law explains that when an electric current passes through a material and encounters resistance, that energy inevitably transforms into heat. Now imagine what that does to a system. As delicate as yours, mine, or that of any other human being. If your body is a liquid semiconductor, which it is, hatred or resentment are like real rust in your network. They create tremendous resistance in that network, which is nothing more than water and wires. That resistance, in turn, generates heat, and that heat causes inflammation. Once again, a reaction that is destroying you. And there are more realities you need to know and understand. The hearts and brains of others emit electromagnetic waves that are very real. When someone hates you, they send out a low-frequency carrier signal. And if you hold on to resentment, you become a receiver tuned to that same frequency. In other words, without even realizing it, you are absorbing their corrupt energy and allowing their darkness to poison your electrical network. And what I just told you is not a metaphor, it's pure science. You see, bioelectromagnetism has shown that the heart is the electrical generator, the most powerful one in your body. Its magnetic field is up to 5,000 times stronger than that of the brain and in fact can be detected several meters away. When someone hates you, their heart rate variability becomes incoherent. It emits a disordered electrical noise. It's something like a shock frequency. And if you hold on to hatred or resentment, you enter what in physics we call entrainment resonance. You voluntarily tune into their noise. And on a biological level, that state of constant alertness triggers cortisol, which in turn floods your system with free radicals. And those radicals are the ones that literally oxidize your cell membranes and your neural connections, degrading the purity of your own electrical conduction. In the end, as I was saying, if you keep holding on without forgiving, you're allowing a low-quality external signal to burn your own hardware. You have to react. And you'll see, forgiveness is not just about feeling good, but a necessary repair for your circuits. And surely you're wondering, what does this mean? Well, it's very simple. Forgiveness is a true galvanic isolation. It is, besides being a deep relief for your body and your soul, above all, the execution of the engineering command that tells your system, stop receiving that signal, cut it off. And to make it easy to understand, galvanic isolation occurs when we physically separate two circuits, so that there is no direct path through which the current can travel. That's right. And it's kind of like putting up an insurmountable barrier. The information may be there, but the damage or the overvoltage from one side can't jump to the other because there's no wire connecting them. Well, when you forgive, what you're doing is installing that insulator in your own network. You decide that even if the other person makes noise, your system no longer has a physical bridge through which that toxicity can come in and burn out. Your circuit. It's you who cuts the connection at the root to protect your own life. And in this, there's something I think is very important for you to have. Of course, you see, everything I'm telling you, you don't have to do it for them. You don't have to do it for yourself. You are the one who decides that your body can no longer be, for any longer, a real dumping ground for other people's waves. By forgiving, what you do is manage to break that bad conductivity, and the other person's signal may still be there, outside, but it no longer has a cable through which it can enter your circuits. And here, you see, there's something else I can't leave out of this video, and it's perhaps the hardest part of all. It turns out that you also have to learn to forgive yourself. As the journey of life continues to unfold, and you begin to contemplate that the opportunities ahead will probably be fewer, we tend to reflect and review our past mistakes. And if galvanic isolation serves to protect our equipment from external noise, it remarkably turns out that self-forgiveness is exactly what effectively prevents and halts the system's internal self-oscillation, which is that loop where the processor overheats, trying to fix a past mistake that, however, can no longer be changed even though the storm passed a long time ago. We tend to go back over the small and the big mistakes of our lives, and we make our system enter an infinite loop of self-criticism. You see, I used to say to myself, but how could I have been so naive? Why did I trust those people? Or I would also ask myself, why didn't I protect my assets better? And I'm absolutely certain that you also have many other things you deeply regret, or perhaps even specific things you might feel quite guilty about. Well, I want you to listen to me very carefully, Whenever that happens, that constant internal dialogue becomes a form of mental interference that you generate yourself, and it ultimately ends up draining your emotional battery relentlessly, both day and night, without any rest. It's a process of electrical self-destruction. You can't punish your past self with the knowledge you have today. From a biophysical perspective, that's a technical injustice that also blocks your cellular repair and wears down your telomeres, just like the hatred that comes from outside. You also have to learn to forgive yourself. That's the best way to regain control over your software. You see, this is accepting that you acted the best you could with the information you had at that moment, and that you did it with the best of intentions. Normally, no one seeks to destroy themselves or the people they love. When you perform this internal reset, you'll stop being your own judge and finally become your own chief engineer. Concerned and interested in regeneration, in inner balance, and above all, in better longevity. It's no longer about feeling guilty, but about returning to the command post so your machine doesn't stop. And here's my proposal for you when facing a situation like the one I'm describing. First, you should approach the situation as a problem, but as a problem that is not unsolvable, something you can indeed resolve, and that you set out to solve. And here I invite you to approach it as an action to regain sovereignty over your own machine, as I mentioned before. I know it's not easy, you know it, we both know it, but we also know that it's possible. And here, to achieve this, I recommend you carry out these 3 specific steps. First, develop within yourself a diagnosis of the leak. Identify who or what part of your own past you are allowing to drain your battery. And sometimes the thief of your energy isn't outside, but rather that judge you carry within, who sometimes never gives you a break. Ask yourself, who am I giving my electrons to today? And then let's move on to the second point. Initiate the supply cutoff. You see, forgiveness is not reconciliation. You don't have to see that person. Forgiveness is an electrical disconnection. And here, take action. Remove their code from your own software, including that code of guilt you've been running on a loop yourself. And when you do this, the system, your system, will stop consuming your resources on wars that actually ended a long time ago. And third, initiate a thermal reset. You see, resentment and self-criticism keep a real chemical fire burning inside you. Use grounding, in other words, use contact with the earth or cold water to calm your system. These are strategies I've presented to you in previous videos, and both will help your biology to ground that excess electromagnetic charge that, without realizing it, you have accumulated inside yourself, both from harm caused by others and from the harm you inflict on yourself. And look, in case it's difficult for you, then here's another different action you can take. Write. Writing is a process of signal transduction. By transferring the pain and also your own guilt from your mind to paper, what you're doing is moving a high-intensity electrical charge from your neural circuits and turning it into an external physical matter. It's something like installing a heatsink on a processor that's about to burn out, allowing the tension to leave your biological system so that your mental software stops processing that endless loop of pain. And finally, it can enter a state of rest and repair. Write. Give yourself some time to write, and you'll see how much that helps you. I did it too. And it really helped me to forgive. And above all, it helped me forgive myself and eliminate that entire loop of pain. By doing so, I regained the voltage in my daily life, and with it, peace, joy, and the strength to create again, to love again. and among other things, to be here today, recording this video for you, total forgiveness towards others and towards myself, opened the door for me to a longevity that doctors thought I would never achieve. Do you want to have a better life? Do you want to live in good health? Do you want to be able to recover your ability to love with excitement, to enjoy a sunrise? Or perhaps you want to truly enjoy the wonderful growth and personal development of those you love. Don't ever let anyone else manage your precious energy, not even your own past self from years ago. Don't allow the past to become a parasite in your present. You are the true guardian of your own story. Take control, regain your energy, regain your peace. Take back your life. And one more thing. If you're not suffering from this situation, but you know someone who might be the angel they need. Sometimes life gives you the chance to help someone forgive or forgive themselves. Don't waste the opportunity. Gently remind them that their entire system can definitely still be repaired, and that their personal biographical sovereignty is really just one simple command away from being restored. If you become that support, the angel that person needs at that moment, it turns out that any kind of forgiveness will become much easier for you as well. Much easier to carry out because you will be appealing to a biophysical reality, resonance. When we help someone lower their internal noise, our own system enters into coherence. Helping to repair someone else's machine is actually the best way to finish calibrating your own. It's something like an immediate biological reward that makes your own machine work better. So keep moving forward. And don't let anything or anyone stop you. Always move forward. And you already know I'll read your comments.